Now, as everyone gets settled in for the days ahead, we'll join up with Wade at the archery range to see what he'll be using for opening weekend.
You know, every year I hunt with something different for opening day, it seems like. And so this year it's gonna be the new TenPoint Nitro X crossbow. I first got this crossbow a little over a month ago. Got it put together out at our deer camp. Tested it, built it, sighted it in, had it dialed in. Actually was able to go out and go hog hunting with it. Crushed a big hog at about 35, 40 yards. I mean, you can literally see the hog hit the ground, kind of run off and didn't go 30 yards. That's some incredible power when you start talking about knocking down a hog straight to the ground like that on impact with a bolt. And I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna start my hunting season this year in Texas with this crossbow.
Well, it's the morning of opening day. The crew's ready and eager to get out into the field. We'll be following Wade this episode as he hunts a unique setup that hopefully will pay off in the end.
I'm going to be actually on top of a pond dam looking down into basically what is the seepage area, or the spillway from this pond where there's a little ditch that runs out. And now it's just a matter of letting that sun come up over the horizon and see what's out there. It's opening morning here in Texas. We've got a pond behind us, and you can kind of see we're setting up actually on the pond dam. You got a lot of these ponds will leak, and below them they create like almost a little marsh. It's like a great little sanctuary, great bedding area. It's usually cooler down there. We've got a few live oaks that are kind of surrounding this area too, dropping a few acorns. We had a lot of deer in here early this morning, but you know, it was so early, it's hard to see with the camera, hard to see for me even determine what was in there. There was a busted up 9-point that's on our list, and then there's a deer in velvet, an 8-point that crossed through there, looked pretty good. There's a deer back there right now behind that tree. So, I mean, we've had some good action, but when you look on the scouting camera, some of these deer have been in here later than normal for this time of the year and time of the season, and I think it's probably a lot to do with how cool it is in this little bottom. So we're gonna sit for at least another hour, maybe an hour and a half. It is very, very still right now. I mean, I don't think I've seen a leaf move or a gnat be blown off course and flying around. You know, what you would expect in these conditions is, you know, kind of like what we're seeing, pretty hard. Not a lot of deer moving. It's pretty tough conditions for an opening morning, but the reality of it, the afternoon should be better. You know, this time of year, and really we got a lucky break for Texas opening weekend. A cold front came in Thursday and Friday, dropped the temperatures, got a lot of the humidity out of the air right then, and really, because I've hunted at 100 degrees in Texas on opening weekend, but it's about 60, 62 when we're going to the stand. The high for the day is going to be below 80, but the challenge is going to be no wind. When you have no wind at the beginning of the season and you're trying to get deer in close for archery or crossbow or handgun type hunting, man, you've got a challenge because every little sound is amplified for those deer to be able to hear. So any man-made noise, the squeak of your chair, the rustle of your clothes, the beep of the camera that we're using, just go put them on alert. In the stand that we're in right now in this pop-up blind on top of this pond dam, really we were a little more visible than what we thought despite all the brush that was around it. And I think some of these early deer kind of picked us off and we got busted and a lot of them ran off. All right, get on out of there. Close up the windows till our next trip. Good set. You can kind of see the pond now behind us a little better. The valley is really a good setup for this time of the year. I feel like where they want to be down there. It's going to probably be 5-7 degrees cooler down there, but didn't pan out this morning, but it'll pan out before we're done.
When we return, Wade heads back out to his stand at the pond dam under some better conditions. Well, it's the afternoon of opening weekend here in South Texas. As everyone heads back to their respective stands, Wade is confident that the afternoon will bring in the deer he's looking for.
You know, when you spend a lot of time looking at your scouting camera photos, it's going to allow you to identify paths that the deer should or be, coming in or out, exiting, so you can, kind of focus your attention where you can pick up the legs or antlers coming through the brush. Also allow you to really, hopefully dial in, these are the bucks we're looking for. And in this case here, that was the key thing. We knew there was a couple of key areas the deer like to kind of work into this little valley on, but it also gave us an idea of the more mature bucks and the bucks that we wanted to target on this hunt. And there was this really cool 9-point in there that kind of swept up and had some goofy little tines. There was a couple of 8-points that caught our attention in there. And with an empty freezer basically at the end of a long summer, any of those that got in front of me were gonna be in trouble. Well, we're settling in, opening day. We hunted deer this morning. Saw a lot of deer early and a few deer later in the morning. It's a perfect setup for deer to want to be in a place that's a little cooler and a very warm day, even though by Texas standards this is not a hot day. It's only probably 80, 81. We've actually got thunderstorms in the area. You can kind of see the trees are really kind of moving around a lot right now off the winds that are coming off each one of those storms, but the prevailing wind should be right in our face, right back across this pond. Based on what we've seen on scouting cameras and what we saw today and talking to Scott, these deer love to come straight out that little draw there, which is probably basically where this pond, when it floods, runs out and back off this little ridge right here. I mean, to me, this is just a perfect little bowl, perfect little scenario to get deer that want to come in and feed, water, bed down, and do everything else that a deer wants to do. So, pretty excited. We've got the TenPoint Nitro in hand tonight, and looking back on the big hunts we've done with this when we were field testing it, we know how much power and accuracy that it has built into it. So it's really going to boil down to me being able to do my job if we can find a shooter out there. So we're going to sit back, let the time tick off the clock, get a little later in the day, see what comes in. That evening, I'm sitting there and, off to my right, 4 or 5 does and fawns kind of filtered down. Rusty couldn't even see them. They were so far to the right and kind of in the brush. And they came through, probably around 5. And but there was really a pretty good lull of just nothing. We were sitting there watching squirrels run around and just, watching the wind blow the leaves around. And it was just kind of quiet at that point. And then a 6-point, he kind of came down this little hill there, and he just kind of popped out in that little valley and started feeding. He was a straight 6, he had no brow tines. And then another little buck showed up maybe about 10 or 15 minutes, and they're kind of milling around. And then all of a sudden I just see, what you're hoping to see. You see some feet, and you see some antlers, and you just see a deer working through the brush. That's him. This main babe's curving.
Yeah, that's him. I think so.
When you just look at deer and you get excited about them, and they're one that everybody's kind of got on the list to be able to take, you're like, okay, that's a great one. And it's a really neat looking 8-point, just a nice symmetrical 8 with brow tines that just kind of give him almost like a field goal, like a goalpost look right there. And he kind of comes down and meanders around, and he works off to the left and pushes one of the young deer around. And I'm just kind of studying him, as I always like to do. I don't feel like I need to be in a hurry at this point. And the deer kind of moves over here to the left, and he starts sliding over to the right. And I'm like, that's one of the 8-points we had the scouting camera photos of. The 9 was standing here in that photo, and the 8 was standing here, and they were literally in the photo looking exactly where we end up putting the pop-up blind at. And I knew that was that deer once I had that look at him. And so from that moment on, it was really just a matter of him getting away from some of that brush and out away from that taller grass and kind of hopefully going broadside.
Well, it all comes down to this. A symmetrical 8-point has wandered into the valley where Wade is, and this buck checks all the boxes to fill the freezer.
32 yards, 33 yards, had it ranged, had it dialed in. I'm perfectly set up on sticks. if something goes wrong here, it's on me. I mean, this crossbow is dialed in. I've been shooting it at much longer distances. I know the power, I know the accuracy. Rusty gives me the thumbs up. He's got plenty of footage, and I'm thinking we've got this opportunity to take a great 8-point, squeeze the trigger. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's a cool 8-point. He's wide. He's very symmetrical. I like deer like that. They're either just, I mean, he comes in off that hill. I get all shook up right after I shoot. Anyway, he's got good tines. He comes working in off this hill right here. Just a really cool looking 8-point to open the season. Had the old Nitro set up right here from TenPoint, and he kind of worked across here, and we had some scouting pictures of him, and I wanted to be sure that I had the right deer, so I looked at him several times with my binoculars, and he kind of got in that thick grass, and I couldn't see him, and he worked back over right along the edge of that, and I mean, he just opened up perfect right there. It was 35 yards, you know, and that's a deadly distance for these types of crossbows that are really dialed in like this. You know, you can shoot them a lot further, but, you know, ethically, you kind of get into some situations if you take a much longer shot. That was perfect right in the wheelhouse, dead rock solid. I think we smoked him. And the impact, when the bolt hits this 8-point from a crossbow, immediately reminds me of almost what the bullet from a gun would do. I mean, it violently hits this deer in a perfect spot. You see the ripples, the deer spins out and goes out, and I mean, I'm just stunned. You know, from the shot angle, you can see the blind up there on the pond dam, and the deer was broadside facing that way. I came in just behind that shoulder. Look how far. I mean, it went all the way through that deer, and it's still buried way down into the dirt here. You can see we got a lot of blood all up and down it through there. Looks kind of pinkish. That's awesome. I mean, it buried everything down in there. When you're tracking a deer, that's when those funny thoughts start getting in your mind. I mean, and you know, I feel like this deer's dead as I'm going through the tracking, and I'm trying to go through this area here, and it's kind of hard to even find the blood. Some of the grass is real tall. There's patchy dirt there, and all of a sudden you start seeing splatters, and you start seeing splatters out of both sides. And I, of course, obviously already know I've got a total pass through at this point based on what we found when we found the bolt. And now it's just a matter of taking time, being patient, following the blood. There's blood right there. Here. Right there. He didn't go 75 yards and piled up. I mean, the impact, the power, and the energy of this TenPoint Nitro X. I was actually shooting some of the Rage crossbow broadheads here, the 3-bladed ones. And I mean, when it hit that deer, I mean, it just pummeled him. You can see the energy in the hit, and he's just turning and going, and I mean, running, and blood's coming out, and there he is. Yes! Look at this guy. I mean, perfect shot. Golly. Good old 8-point right there. I mean, whacked him. That's what I'm talking about. That's so fun. I mean, we're gonna have a pile of hamburger meat, pan sausage, and back straps wrapped in bacon out of him. What a good hunt. I mean, that's how you open up the Texas deer season. You know, I never know what I'm gonna hunt with when the season starts in Texas. I just kind of go with it. I've shot them with handguns, my compounds, muzzle loaders, rifles, crossbows. This year, had to go give the Nitro X a chance from TenPoint. I hadn't had a chance to really shoot it, but when you look at the specs of it and what I've seen it do on hogs, I had to take it on a whitetail hunt. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. What a great 8-point. That kind of wraps up my portion of the opening weekend hunt. You know, the cool thing about this hunt was, once again, testing and using new products that are coming out, providing feedback to the TenPoint guys. Obviously, all the time spent out here at the Wendlandts, you know, the world famous golf matches that we have, the great food, all the people that are here, all the other hunters in camp, and we've got more stories that we'll be sharing. It's just another great opening Texas weekend hunt for us. The season is just getting kicked off. There'll be lots of exciting things coming up, but Texas has been good to us again.
Congratulations, Wade, on your TenPoint Nitro X entry into the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries here on opening day. To learn more about TenPoint's Nitro X or any of their crossbow models, head on over to TenPointCrossbows.com and be sure to check out your state's DNR on any crossbow regulations. Well, that'll do it for us here on the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries. We'll see you next time.